This is the legendary Harley Davidson factory. Back in the early days, everything was done by hand. But then, as the demand for Harleys grew, the company had to evolve. Machines, automation, and new technology entered the production line. Workers still hand-assemble key parts, just like they did in the old days. But now, precision robotics help speed up the process. All workers here earn a minimum of $30 an hour, and the head engineers earn up to $60 an hour. Right now, you're watching the giant steel coils arrive at the factory, ready to be shaped into the legendary Harley Davidson frame. Harley Davidson started in 1903, when 4 young men built their first motorcycle inside a tiny wooden shed. The very first Harley Davidson was built in a small wooden shed in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. The shed even had the words Harley Davidson Motor Company hand-painted on the door. Back then, they had no idea they were creating something so enormous. You're watching the famous engine production line right now. While other motorcycle brands focus on making their engines quiet and smooth, Harley has always done the opposite. But what makes Harley different is that while other companies are focused on making small, efficient bikes, Harley Davidson builds motors that roar, big, powerful, and built for the open road. But before these engines ever hit the road, they start with nothing more than raw metal. Every day, massive shipments of these raw materials arrive at the factory. First, the raw metal is heated and forged, creating the engine casings, cylinders, and key components. These parts need to fit together seamlessly, or else the entire engine won't function properly. At this point, Harley could let the machines take over completely, but they don't. Because while robots handle the precision cutting, real human craftsmanship still plays a massive role in every Harley engine. Skilled workers inspect, fine-tune, and polish every piece by hand, making sure there are 0 imperfections. In the past, everything was only done by human workers and therefore took them much longer to make a Harley. The crankshaft, which converts engine power into motion, is installed first. Then, the pistons and cylinders are added. These parts work together to give the engine its strength and speed. But did you know that unlike other motorcycle brands, Harley sticks to its roots? Every V-twin engine is still built right here in America. Cool, right? But there's one big secret behind Harley that most people don't know. Before an engine is installed into a motorcycle, it has to pass a cold test. A high-tech inspection where the engine is spun without fuel or combustion. This lets engineers check for leaks, imperfections, and alignment issues. Once it passes, it moves on where the engine is started for the first time. By the 1920s, Harley Davidson dominated the motorcycle industry. But then came the Great Depression. Many motorcycle manufacturers went out of business, but Harley fought through, supplying bikes to police forces and even the U.S. Army. During World War I, Harley supplied over 20,000 motorcycles to the U.S. military. By World War II, that number skyrocketed to over 90,000 bikes, with Harley becoming the primary motorcycle for U.S. troops. One of the most famous models was the Harley Davidson WLA, built to handle tough battlefield conditions, cementing its reputation for toughness and reliability. When the war ended, soldiers returned home, and many of them wanted only one thing: a Harley of their own. But here's where things get interesting. That's where the Harley Davidson frame comes in. The frame isn't just for looks. It's what gives the bike its strength, balance, and durability. Without it, a Harley wouldn't be a Harley. You're now looking at long steel tubes, which arrive at the factory in their raw form. These tubes are cut, bent, and welded into shape, forming the backbone of the motorcycle. Everything needs to be perfect, because this frame will carry the weight of the entire engine and the rider. Years ago, these frames were completely welded by hand. Workers worked hours and hours to finish even one full Harley motor. But now, robotic welding arms handle most of the process, ensuring every weld is precise and flawless. Even so, Harley still relies on human inspectors to check each frame, making sure it meets their high standards. Once the main frame is complete, you see here that it's time to add the suspension, swing arm, and wheels. the parts that give a Harley its smooth ride and signature stance. The suspension system is what makes a Harley comfortable to ride, even on rough roads. It absorbs shocks, keeps the bike stable, and helps the rider stay in control. The process starts with the front forks, the two long metal bars that connect the front wheel to the handlebars. Next, the rear swing arm is attached. This is the part that holds the back wheel and allows it to move up and down over bumps. Without it, the ride would feel stiff and uncomfortable. The 1950s and 60s saw the rise of biker culture, with Harley Davidson at the center of it all. But then came the crisis years. By the 1970s and 80s, cheaper and more reliable Japanese motorcycles flooded the market. Harley's reputation took a hit. Poor quality control and outdated technology nearly drove the company into bankruptcy. So how did they survive? A group of Harley executives bought back the company, redesigned their bikes, and introduced innovations like the Evolution engine, which made Harleys more powerful and dependable. By the 1990s, Harley was back, stronger than ever. And today, in 2025, Harley Davidson is still standing, still growing, and still evolving. You're now looking at the wheels that are mounted. Even a slight misalignment can throw off the balance of the bike. That's why Harley mechanics double-check every measurement before moving forward. Now comes one of the most important moments in the factory, the so-called marriage. That is when the powerful V-twin engine is mounted onto the frame for the first time. You're seeing that the workers use a hydraulic lift. They carefully lower the engine into place. At this moment, the Harley starts to come to life. But there's still missing something. It's time to give the Harley its signature look. Before any color is applied, as you see, the frame and body parts go through an intense cleaning process. First, they are dipped into an anti-corrosion bath, which prevents rust and keeps the bike's frame durable for decades. After drying, every inch of the metal is carefully sanded and smoothed. Harley Davidson's reputation is built on quality, so every detail matters. Once the surface is ready, the parts move into the paint booth. Inside the automated paint booths, robotic arms begin the first layer, a base coat. This helps the paint stick to the metal and makes the final color pop. But did you know that in 1970, racer Cal Rayborn rode a Harley Davidson Streamliner to a record-breaking 265 miles per hour at the Bonneville Salt Flats? This wasn't a normal Harley. It was a fully enclosed motorcycle with a 1,500cc Harley engine. Even today, it remains one of the fastest Harleys ever built. Now you're watching the first layers of color are sprayed on. Deep blacks, metallic silvers, and bright custom colors coat the surface, each layer cured under high heat to make sure it lasts. But here's where Harley does things differently. Unlike mass-produced bikes, Harley Davidson still relies on skilled human painters for custom finishes and special edition models. Flames, stripes, and unique designs are painted by hand, ensuring no two custom bikes are exactly alike. But before a single part is attached to the bike, each painted piece must pass an inspection. Everything checked under bright lights. Workers look for tiny imperfections, dust specks, or uneven coatings. In 1936, Harley released the 61E Knucklehead, featuring overhead valves, a major breakthrough in motorcycle engineering. The engine got its nickname from the distinct shape of the valve covers. But in the 1950s and 60s, Harley Davidson became the bike of choice for outlaw motorcycle clubs, including the Hells Angels. The Hells Angels have a strict rule. Only American motorcycles are allowed in the club. Since Harley was the most dominant U.S. motorcycle brand, it became the obvious choice. While Harley never officially endorsed these groups, their rebellious image helped shape the brand's bad boy reputation. After passing inspection, the painted parts are carefully moved to the assembly line. Then it's time for the most insane thing. This stage of the process is known as final assembly, and a single mistake here could mean the workers their job. That's why every Harley goes through an intense final assembly and quality control process before it ever leaves the factory. One of the first components added is the fuel tank. As you can see, it features Harley's iconic logos and custom paintwork. Workers carefully mount the tank onto the frame, securing it with bolts to prevent any movement. Next, the handlebars and controls are installed, ensuring that the handlebars respond perfectly to the rider's touch. At the same time, the electrical system is installed. The LED headlights, turn signals, and instrument panel are wired in, and each system is tested to make sure the bike's electronics function correctly. That sound from a Harley Davidson doesn't happen by accident. The exhaust system is specially designed to create the classic Harley growl. As you can see, the chrome exhaust pipes are installed, and then the bike finally starts to sound like a real Harley. The Great Depression from 1929 to 1939 wiped out most US motorcycle manufacturers, but Harley barely survived by making bikes for police departments and delivery companies. At one point, Harley and Indian were the only two major American motorcycle brands left. You're now seeing the bike moving to the dyno testing area. A dynamometer is a special machine that simulates real road conditions. This test pushes the motorcycle to its limits, ensuring it can handle the road before it ever reaches a customer. After the dyno test, the bikes go through a test ride by professional riders. They take the Harley onto a test track, checking handling and balance, braking response, and the acceleration performance. Only after passing every test does the bike get its final approval. A small inspection tag is placed on the frame, showing that the motorcycle is officially Harley Davidson certified. With electric motorcycles and stricter emissions laws, will Harley still be the same legendary brand in the years ahead? What do you think? For decades, Harley has been known for its handcrafted quality. But now in 2025, the factory looks very different from the past. Today, precision robotics assists in the assembly process. Automated quality checks scan for even the smallest imperfections. But what sets Harley apart is that humans are still in control. And unlike many modern factories that are fully robotic, Harley Davidson keeps skilled workers involved at every step. Paint jobs are still hand-finished, engines are still inspected by real people, and every bike goes through personalized quality control before it leaves the factory. But there's one area where Harley is making a huge shift: electric Harleys. In 2019, Harley shocked the world when it introduced its first electric motorcycle, the Livewire. For a company famous for its loud, growling engines, this move seemed unthinkable. Stricter emission laws, rising fuel costs, and a new generation of eco-conscious riders mean that Harley has to adapt. The latest Livewire models are faster than ever, with an instant throttle response and high-tech features. But here's the question: can a Harley still feel like a Harley without the V-twin rumble? What do you think? Many traditional Harley riders aren't convinced, but the company believes that both gas and electric models can coexist, letting riders choose their own path. Harley is now investing in next-generation materials to make bikes lighter and stronger. Future models may feature hybrid engines, blending the best of gas and electric power. But no matter how much the industry changes, one thing will never change. Harley Davidson is still about freedom, adventure, and the thrill of the ride. And now, after passing every test, the newest Harley Davidson motorcycles are finally ready for their new owner. But while some motorcycles are built for everyday riders, others are so rare and valuable that only the world's richest collectors can afford them. So, what are the most expensive Harley Davidsons ever sold? On one, we've got the Harley Davidson Cosmic Starship, worth around $3 million. A custom-painted masterpiece by artist Jack Armstrong. The bike itself was a Harley Davidson V-Rod, but its psychedelic hand-painted design turned it into a work of art, selling for a jaw-dropping $3 million. On two, we've got 1907 Harley Davidson Strap Tank, $935,000, one of the earliest surviving Harleys. This 1907 Strap Tank was found in an old barn before being restored. In 2023, it sold for $935,000, making it the most expensive vintage Harley ever auctioned. And on three, we've got the Easy Rider Captain America bike at $1.35 million. The Harley chopper ridden by Peter Fonda in Easy Rider became a symbol of freedom and rebellion. In 2014, it sold for $1.35 million, making it one of the most legendary motorcycles in history.